My name is Daria and I've been doing graphic design for about 3 years now. A journey of getting into the creative career can be a complicated one, and I fairly get quite a lot of questions around how to become a graphic designer, what resources to use, where to learn, how to practice. Granted, these days the internet has made this much more accessible. You definitely don't need a full-on degree in graphic design to become one. My degree is in fashion, and here I am doing graphic design. I've made a video around my journey, so feel free to go and watch that one. But today I want to focus on simplifying the journey for you and introduce 3 steps of how to become a graphic designer in 2025. Let's get into it. Doing graphic design and learning graphic design is like making a cake. And every cake has its foundations. In this case, our foundations, our batter and cream, are theory and softwares. Theory refers to all the principles of graphic design like color, composition, layout, and typography. These can be found on numerous YouTube tutorials, online courses, books. You can go on ChatGPT and ask him, did I just refer to AI as an actual person? You can go and ask ChatGPT sources or even like articles on that. That's the most accessible area of graphic design you can get, and that's where you start. I also have series on my YouTube channel where I discuss all the foundations of graphic design like composition, color, typography, etc. But some of my favorite creators that I watched while I was learning graphic design include Flux Academy. They have really long and very detailed descriptions of every single section with a lot of practical tools as well. Dansky, he has more short form content, more specific tutorials on the topic. Feel free to check those, or just go on YouTube and search graphic design theory and see what comes up. And you can also go to the bookstore and find books on graphic design theory, which are also very accessible. I personally prefer to learn from online courses because usually they actually show you stuff. I mean, in the books you would have pictures, but I feel like for me it's easier to digest theoretical information through actual person who is describing it to me. So yeah, choose the source that's the easiest for you to digest and absorb and go for it. Theory is a static foundation of graphic design, our batter, but then we have our cream, which are softwares, and these are unfortunately based on technology, which is constantly developing, it's constantly evolving, and sometimes it can be daunting and difficult to adjust, always upskill yourself in all the softwares like Photoshop, Illustrator, Figma, and whatnot, and new softwares are constantly appearing, and you have to upkeep with all this very fast pace of this technology and industry and whatnot. It'll be a fair question of you to ask, why do I even need those softwares? Graphic design has started decades before computers came around, and that's a fair question actually. Unfortunately, in this highly digitized world where everything is done on computers, to monetize your career, you need to know the software. Similar to what's happening in the theory, you can learn all of these softwares online. Here you can access different online courses, like on LinkedIn. They have dedicated courses for all the softwares, so like a dedicated course to Photoshop, which is like 11 hours, and they go through every single tool, every single thing, every single section, video by video. It's super comprehensive. It may be a little bit boring. It's not as fun as YouTube tutorial, because on YouTube people would try to present it in a more entertaining and fun form. So again, YouTube creators like the ones I've mentioned before, but also some of my favorite ones are Katrina. She has some really great tutorials on specific tools on Illustrator. Jesse Nyberg, if you want to practice Photoshop, he has a lot of videos where he literally shows his entire design process and what tools he's using, what filters he's applying and whatnot. Abby Koenig, tons and tons of tutorials on Illustrator. I watch her sometimes these days because she posts some tools I've never known how to use before, but they simplify the process so much. In terms of the time frames, I would say it took me around a month to 2 months to deliberately dedicate my time to learning the theory, learning the softwares. When I was learning graphic design, I was in my hometown, plugged in my laptop to the TV to kind of display all the videos and all the online courses. So I was watching it on the TV while actually doing the stuff, especially when I was watching the software courses, because it's very practical. I was actually like doing stuff as they were explaining that stuff to me. The tutorials will definitely give you a great starting point, but practice is so much more important when it comes to graphic design. You really need to sit down to lock in and deliberately spend hours doing, creating, and designing. Graphic design is all about the process, and if you don't like the process, what's the point? This takes me onto the layer 2 of our design cake, which is frosting, meaning practice. This stage practically never ends because I've already said graphic design is a full-on practical career. And with every design you create, you fill up your skill vessel, which unlocks new opportunities. If you've ever played The Sims, you would know that when your character performs a skill, their like skill vessel, it kind of fills up, and then when they get onto the new level, you can perform more actions. Think about it the same way. The more you practice different tools, the more tools you can use. So how do you practice graphic design and the softwares? The easiest way is to go on Pinterest, or maybe find a magazine or a packaging design that you like and try to replicate it. Try to see which fonts they used, what was the composition, which colors work together, which don't, because as you learn the theory of graphic design, there is the concept of balance of objects, of contrast. As you learn that, you would notice how all these different principles are applied within the actual graphic design projects, and then you can go and level up the game by adding your personality into those designs. Oh, I would add like a little icon here, I would add like a little image here and there. Next, you can go on Instagram and find profiles and accounts with design briefs. Normally they're focused around branding, but still branding is a great way to start. So they would ask you to design a logo, packaging design, maybe some merch for that brand, maybe if it's a cafe it would be a menu or like a gift bag or whatnot. And you can choose to post your designs on Instagram to be considered for winning this little competition, because normally they work like a little competition. People post their designs based on that brief. They mention those accounts, and then those accounts choose the best designs and repost them on their feed, which is a great way to promote your work as well, because oh my god, it is sometimes so difficult to come up with your own ideas. I completely understand that in the very beginning of your journey, trying to practice and learn the tools, and then you have to come up with the concepts, and it's difficult. So why not choose the resources that are already there? I'm gonna link some of the accounts down below this video so you can check them out. But yeah, every single week they post great stuff and you can participate. I would strongly recommend you to start posting your work. You never know if your work gets featured, and when you mention those accounts as well, when you tag them, you kind of appear on their tagged feed as well. And other designers sometimes visit those tagged sections for their personal inspiration. So again, you never know. Maybe your work is going to be featured, maybe it's going to be seen by other designers, and that's great. And finally, we have passion projects, probably more difficult in comparison to the previous practice tools I've mentioned, simply because here you have to come up with ideas by yourself. It also can be super easy and super simple. Passion projects would be things you really love and you're really passionate about in your daily life, in your daily routine. For example, I am obsessed with food. I love taking pictures of my food. I love food packaging. I love menus, restaurants, cafes, coffee shops. I love everything about the food industry. And I also love books and magazines and editorial design. And these are things I would base my personal passion projects on. I would design food packaging, or maybe I would redesign a book cover for the book I've just read, or I would design a little magazine about how I spent my last weekend. You have this emotional connection with those projects. It adds a layer to your practice, and that's a great incentive to also find like-minded people in the creative industry. You know, you share the same interests with them, you connect through your project. So if you love music bands, create album covers. If you love traveling, create postcards. There are so many incredible sources of inspiration in daily life, and you just have to look. And the more you look, the more you notice, the more you take action, the easier those creative sparks come to you. Before I jump onto the cherry on top of our design cake, we need some decor. So you've learned the theory, you've learned the softwares, and now it's time to find your space in the creative industry and build your personal brand. Some people might ignore this step, for example, if they maybe gravitate towards working in the creative agency, and that's where the kind of collaborative spirit is more important than the individual character. Your personal brand as a graphic designer would refer to your portfolio, your style, and something you are known for in the creative industry. Don't worry about the style, especially in the beginning stages of your career, because it's something that takes sometimes decades to develop. If it's your actual authentic style, it's definitely representative of your personality. Your personal brand will also include the mediums and niches of graphic design you participate in. So for example, I as a graphic designer gravitate more towards food packaging, food posters, editorial design, little magazines, and maybe book covers. And that's something I would feature more on my portfolio. Say for example, Justin Nyberg, one of the most inspirational people in this industry for me personally. He's really focused on album covers and album art, and he's being contacted by bands and music festivals, and a lot of his like stylistic decisions are inspired by music. So that's his niche. I'm not saying that you should 100% constrict yourself to one niche or one style, because graphic design is about creativity, it's about experimentation and having fun, especially on the early stages of your career. I would say beginners in graphic design are often generalists, but later on, when you discover your passion, discover the niches you gravitate towards, you kind of gain that specialization. But more often than not, defining a niche and specific area of graphic design you want to participate in and you're passionate about, the easier it makes for you to level up your skill, because you focus on practicing that niche, but also the easier for other people, for potential collaborators, so other creators, or for potential clients to find you, because they see, okay, the person is looking to open a business in like a bakery shop. They probably wouldn't go to a designer who they see specializes in like album covers. They would go to a designer who specializes in food packaging, because they need them to design menu packaging for their pastries and whatnot. And then there is character, your personal branding. Being an authentic self is what gonna help you shape that style everyone is craving to have, attract the right people you want to work with and you're more likely to click with. For example, I am passionate about color. I'm passionate about bold, diversified typography in my work. I'm more of a, I would say, maximalist, and it's definitely difficult for me to create minimal designs because my eye just sees differently. My brain just works differently. I might challenge myself and create something a little bit more unconventional. I will definitely stick to my bold, colorful designs because it works for me, it brings me joy, and I'm good at it. So to sum up, your personal branding as a graphic designer includes your creative portfolio, optionally your style, your character and personality in this industry, and then the niche you gravitate towards and the mediums of graphic design that you normally use to create. And that brings me on to the cherry on top of our design cake. Have fun. Being a graphic designer is incredible, though can be sometimes stressful and complicated and unclear and difficult and competitive. You can make it much more exciting for yourself by sprinkling some joy onto your practice and daily routine as a graphic designer. Visit creative spaces, watch things and movies and videos that are maybe more creative than not, collaborate with other creatives, reach out to brands and be like, oh, can I create a poster for you? Or sometimes reaching out to designers who don't specialize in your creative niche is much more efficient because you exchange your experience, you exchange knowledge with people who are not specialized in your thing and you don't specialize in their thing. You grow that way. Buy a notebook for planning your projects. Customize that notebook with your personal stickers. Print out your work, put it on the walls, create a little gallery at your home. Immerse yourself in kind of the personality of being a graphic designer. And I know in the beginning, let me tell you, in the very beginning, the imposter syndrome kicks in so hard. I remember myself being like, no, I'm not a graphic designer. Am I making videos about graphic design? I'm not even a graphic designer. What is even happening? You know what I mean? And that's fine. That's kind of a stage I feel like quite a lot of people go through. But I myself kind of very dramatically and very rapidly pivoted into the career of graphic design. I wasn't even planning to become a graphic designer. I got my degree in fashion, and then in my second year I was like, I'm gonna be a graphic designer, and I didn't give up on my degree. I kept studying fashion. It took me quite some time to adjust to the fact that, okay, this is me now, and this is how I feel, and this is my personality, and this is my authentic self, and I'm great. I'm feeling great. But by immersing yourself into that type of lifestyle, into that type of mindset, just simply becomes easier for you to be creative. And then those ideas for passion projects, they just flow into your brain. You don't even have to consciously think about them. They just, you shower, they come up to you. You cook, they come up to you. It's fun. I'm having fun, and you should as well, should you choose to become a graphic designer, which, if you think very primitively about it, takes only 3 steps and a bonus one. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Tune in every Thursday, hopefully, for more design with me videos, tutorials, little vlogs. Find me on Instagram at made with Daria. I cannot even pronounce my own name. Made with Daria. And yeah, let's chat, let's connect. Let's have fun together, and I hope to see you in the next one.